Van Ryken Productions presents Blood Noir.
Last time on Blood Noir, Evelyn Lemieux found herself in a dingy motel room. In the late hours, she heard strange noises and feared the arrival of Sinclair's men. When Boris knocked on her door, she cautiously let him in after hearing Sterling's name. He warned her of the danger she was in. Meanwhile, Sterling struggled with a sleepless night, contemplating the bizarre information he'd received from Maeve about vampires and crime bosses. A threatening phone call left him unnerved, and an attempt to break in by an unknown intruder led him to fire his gun through the door. Sterling, transformed into the alias Benny Thompson by Mabel, a makeup artist, prepared to infiltrate Sinclair Industries to gather information on Henry and the mysterious blood token. Boris provided Sterling with a fake driver's license and a portable radio to communicate with Maeve and Boris during his mission. Despite the audacious plan, Sterling reluctantly agreed to carry out his part in the operation, joining the surreal world of the Syndicate's efforts to deal with vampires and other supernatural beings in Silvercrest. The story continues now on Blood Noir.
Now, Benny. Sinclair more than likely has pretty tight security, even beyond the building's front desk. You'll need to actually make your way up toward the correct office before slipping away. Keep your guard up and your eyes peeled.
Yeah. I know how to be sneaky. I just can't believe I'm doing this.
You just need to commit.
Commit? I know. You know, the whole shtick about me committing to a shtick is getting just as old.
Right, sorry. Back to it then.
So, just to be clear, am I looking for Henry while I'm in there?
If you can eavesdrop on some of the building's employees, you might be able to figure out where they're hiding him. If you find him, he might even be able to tell you where you can go to get more information on Sinclair.
Okay, so find Henry first. Use the radio if I get in trouble. Got it. And where are you two gonna be again?
We will be nearby in the car. Perhaps we will scout around the building if all is quiet.
As Boris spoke, his face bore a somewhat grim expression, and he quickly broke into his usual jovial grin.
All will be well. We will find Henry, and we will find out what Sinclair is up to. Maybe even stop it.
Right.
It is important to have confidence, Mr. Thompson.
So, when I find Henry, what do I tell him? Hey there, pal. I'm a new member of your secret vampire hunting organization, and I'm here to rescue you.
Yes, exactly. And say it with confidence.
Maybe not in so many words. Just tell him you know us.
And what about the blood token thing?
We've hidden it in a safe place for now, till we know what it's for. I'll have to check in on Carl tomorrow.
If we make it to tomorrow.
Confidence. All right. We're about 3 blocks away from the building. Do you have your briefcase?
Yeah, I got it.
And you have your fake license?
Yes.
And your nose isn't falling off?
I don't think so.
Then you are ready. Good luck. Use the radio at the first sign of trouble. Good luck.
Sterling shook his head as he stepped out of the vehicle. He donned his hat and pulled his jacket tight against the cold wind. The sky looked like it was ready to open up again. The PI made his way down the street, hat low, trying to look nondescript. He had never done anything quite like this, and he felt his hands shaking. From the cold or his nerves, he could not tell. The sun was high in the sky as he approached the looming skyscraper that was Sinclair Industries HQ. It was a starkly modern building compared to the ones neighboring it. With lots of round edges and wide windows, the monolith was intimidating to say the least. He finally found himself nearing the front door. He carefully pressed the button of the radio hidden beneath his jacket.
Approaching the building now.
Don't give us a play-by-play, you're gonna get caught.
Sorry.
With a slightly shaky hand, Sterling approached the door and opened it, stepping into the building. Henry sat alone in the office he was stuck in, huddled into a corner. Empty food containers littered the floor. Carlyle had kept to his promise and made sure he was fed properly. He scanned the room for the 100th time, his brain working feverishly on a plan to get out of here.
Even if I do make it out of here, I'm gonna have to deal with the big guys outside the door. Fuck.
The office had no windows, only a desk, the chair he had been tied to, and a flickering ceiling lamp. A bookshelf with several volumes sat in a corner. He hauled himself to his feet to inspect the desk. His whole body ached, and it was only within the last hour that he had found the strength to move. The desk was a plain wooden affair, sturdily built with 3 empty drawers. He looked carefully at the joints of the desk, where wood met wood, eyeing the legs.
This could work. But how am I gonna break one off without them hearing me?
This question he did not have an answer to. He crossed the room and pressed his ear to the door. The 2 men outside his room were having some sort of conversation. He listened carefully.
Can't believe the boss is making us guard this guy for a whole nother day. Fuck. We could be doing other stuff, like poker, or bowling, or both.
Don't talk like that too loud. You know how good the boss's hearing is, and he could be anywhere.
It's the middle of the day. The boss is up in his penthouse, sleeping.
Yeah, probably, but don't risk it.
Well, I'm getting tired of it. I've had to go to Vincenzo's 3 times now because this guy here is hungry. Ew, I'm so hungry, and my face is beat to hell. Please feed me. Yeah.
Boss's orders.
I know. I think I'm gonna go to Vincenzo's for myself this time. Huh? Yeah, I need a bite.
So, they're familiars.
You can't leave. If the boss finds out.
The boss won't find out unless you tell him. You gonna tell him?
No.
Then it's fine. Hey, you want something?
Yeah, give me a ham and cheese and a soda.
Henry heard one of the men walk away down the hall. He had to act now, while there was only one. He went back to the bookshelf and pulled a few books from it. He set the volumes underneath one of the desk legs to raise them up. He set to frantically jiggling the other leg, trying to break it free. The desk was of good construction, and for a few minutes proved immovable. Finally, though, Henry was able to get a jiggle from it. He had a choice to make. No matter what he did, this thing was going to make a loud noise. He decided he would at least decide when it would. He stepped back and kicked the leg as hard as he could.
Ah! Help! Someone help me!
As he yelled, he quickly ran across the room to hide behind the door.
What the hell do you want? The boss said...
Goon's huge body hit the ground with a loud thump as Henry stood there, desk legs still held aloft. Hopefully the man wasn't dead. He didn't kill humans if he could avoid it.
Big idiot.
Henry took off out of the open door and down the hall. He had been hearing the distant dinging of the elevator bell for days now and had a vague idea of where it was. He rounded a corner and found said elevator. As the door opened, the operator looked shocked to see a bloodied man holding a large piece of wood. Henry gulped.
Sorry.
Henry felt bad for that one. The elevator operator had done nothing to him, but he couldn't risk being found out. He had to find Evelyn in this godforsaken building and get her out. He rolled up out of the basement floors. He would have to cross the main floor, sneaking by security to access the lift that would take him to the penthouse where he was sure Evelyn was being kept. Sinclair wouldn't have locked her up like him. He shuddered to think what that monster would do. He snuck as quietly as he could from the elevator, eyes darting in every direction. The hallway he had entered was empty for the moment, and he tiptoed his way towards the lobby, trying to minimize the echo of his footsteps on the marble floors. As he approached where he knew the security station would be, he peered around the corner to see the backs of 3 men in suits who were conversing quietly. To his surprise, someone was entering the building, making their way over to the guards. As they all moved around the desk to speak to the newcomer, Henry made his move. Moving slowly, he crept his way across the lobby, holding his breath, hoping against hope that none of the guards turned around. He exhaled softly as he rounded the corner into another hallway where the other elevators resided. He pressed the button to summon one, but the arrow on the indicator showed that the lift was up at the penthouse and wasn't coming down. He waited with bated breath, hearing the distant conversation from the security booth. Eventually, the sound of loud footsteps on the marble could be heard, coming directly towards him. He threw himself behind a large potted plant in the corner and waited. Sterling took a moment to look around him. The foyer of the building was quite impressive. A large room with polished marble flooring and a high, vaulted ceiling. His footsteps echoed loudly as he approached a large mahogany front desk. 3 men in suits were waiting for him. They moved around the desk and one of them politely spoke.
Good afternoon, sir. How can we help you?
Hello. My name is Benny Thompson. I'm here to see Robert Armand. I have an appointment for 1:30.
All right. I just need to see your driver's license.
Sterling reached into his back pocket and produced his wallet. Opening it, he took out the fake license, and his heart stopped when he saw that his real license was sitting right behind it, plain as day. He gulped, but did his best to keep his composure, closing his wallet and handing the fake document to the guard, who stared at it intently.
Benjamin Thompson. Yep. Looks like you. Did you just renew your license? This looks pretty fresh.
Well, I lost my license a few weeks ago, and I had to go get a new one.
I see. That must have been a real pain in the neck.
Well, you know how it is.
The guards all chuckled politely as the man who'd been speaking walked behind the desk and picked up the receiver of a telephone.
I'll just need to give Mr. Armand a call. See if he's available. You're a bit early.
Sterling could feel sweat beading on his forehead. He worried about his makeup running. He couldn't fail here.
Of course.
Sterling could hear the clicking of the rotary as the guard dialed a number. As he watched, he caught a glimpse of something behind the men. Someone was creeping their way across the floor, painstakingly slowly. It was a man, his face and clothes covered in dried blood. Sterling's heart skipped a beat as he realized this man looked like the pictures of Henry that Evelyn had given him. He made sure not to look too long, but kept track of the man out of the corner of his eye until he disappeared around a corner.
Well, it looks like Mr. Armand isn't picking up. He must still be in a meeting. Would you mind waiting here a few minutes?
Sterling's palms were sweating as he forced a reply, thinking quickly.
I actually would mind. With all due respect, I'm a very important investor. I don't want to cause a scene for you boys, but I don't stand around for yous. And I think if Robert knew you'd held me up here, he'd be furious.
We should probably let him go. He's probably right. We don't want Mr. Armand down here tearing us a new one.
Yeah, all right. Elevators are to the right, 14th floor. His name's on his office door.
Thank you, boys. Take it easy, all right?
As Sterling walked past the desk toward the elevator, he breathed a soft sigh of relief. That was close. He gave himself a mental pat on the back for thinking quickly. He turned a corner to find the elevators. The button had already been pressed, which was curious. One elevator was quickly descending. As he stood there, he felt a strange sensation of being watched. This was followed by the squeaking of a shoe on the marble behind him. He whirled around and managed to throw his arm up as a piece of wood swung down at him. Sterling winced as pain shot up his arm. Through squinted eyes, he saw the determined face of the man he had seen a few minutes ago.
Henry?
The man's face softened.
I'm a friend of Maeve and Boris. Stop before we get caught.
The door of the elevator dinged open and the two men stepped inside. The elevator operator frowned at the two as they entered. Sterling, still in a state of improvisation, gestured at the bloody man.
Boss wants to see him. Wait, Henry! Why'd you have to knock him out?
I can't be found out. Who the fuck are you?
Sterling Angrave. I'm a private eye who was hired to find you.
Oh yeah? Who hired you?
Initially, your wife.
Frustratedly, Sterling pushed the lever to send the elevator up. There were 60 floors to this building.
Evelyn? No, Sinclair told me she's here.
He lied. She's safe at a motel.
Thank God. How do you know Maeve and Boris?
That's a long story. To make it short, they found me. They've been looking for you too.
How much have they told you?
Well, I know that there are vampires in Silvercrest now. And I know Sinclair's been up to some shady dealing. And the Syndicate. I know about them too.
So they told you everything. Okay. I guess I can trust you. What are you doing here?
Well, to find you. And also find out what this blood token thing is. And what Sinclair's doing with it.
Where are the others?
Outside. That reminds me. Boris, it's Sterling. I found Henry. We're in an elevator.
Wonderful. Hello, Henry.
What should we do? Should we get him out of here?
We haven't found a good exit yet. Henry, we need to find information on the blood token. You found it. What else was there?
I have some ideas of what he wants. We'll go back to where I found it. In the archives.
If you're able to, please do. Both of you be careful. Merv is scouting the building for a surface exit or something. We'll let you know when we find a way to get out.
Got it. So you stole the blood token. Maeve said it's a religious thing.
No. I think it's deeper. I think it's much deeper than that. We need to go to the 35th floor. That's where the archives are.
Sterling pulled the lever down and the elevator began to descend. Neither man had any idea what was waiting for them. But the glance shared between them was one of understanding that it was about to get a lot more dangerous.
Blood Noir, Episode 6, featuring the voice talents of Aubrey Akers as the narrator, Chris Wentworth as Sterling Ongrave, Alina Masquerade as Evelyn Lemieux, Melissa Sacrison as Maeve, S. Levens as Boris, Daniel Couette as Henry Lemieux, Mihai Matei as Damon, Adam Blanford as Farley, Leo Roselius as John, and Gerald Van Ryken as Guards 2 and 3. Written by Gerald Van Ryken, directed by Adam Blanford. Sound effects provided by Epidemic Sound and freesound.org in the public domain. Music featured in this episode: Covert Affair, I Knew a Guy, Basewalker, On the Ground, Avant Jazz, Hard Boiled, Faster Does It, and Vibing Over Venus. Was composed by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0. Blood Noir, copyright 2024 by Gerald Van Ryken. This production is copyright 2024 Van Ryken Productions.